Alright, so I thought I'd make this little review video of the Doug Thorley headers. They are 1 3/4 inch catless headers that I have on my 16 Ram 1500. I've had them on for about a week now, and so far they're pretty good, but I just wanted to go over maybe a few helpful tips if you're trying to put headers on your truck, whether they're Doug Thorley or JBA or American Racing, Stainless Works. They all should be pretty similar since it's for the same vehicle. Their instructions are actually really crappy, but I mean, if you're even the least mechanically inclined, you should be able to do this. It's definitely a two-person job though. Now on here, they have a list of parts included, and as you can see, I've highlighted everything they sent. And then they actually did not send the header gaskets. And where are they? These hex bolts right here, which are these are supposed to connect the Y pipe to the actual header, but they were way too short, so they didn't work. So I had to pull the bolts off the old Y pipe that went right here, and I had to use those to connect the new Y pipe to the headers. So that's the only two things really that I didn't like about this kit. So I mean, either way, I would have probably went ahead and bought new gaskets from the dealership, which is what I did. I just went down to the dealership, got a pair of gaskets. They were like $57, so that's not too bad, and they're supposed to be really good quality. I did have an O2 sensor extension left over, so I found out that on the passenger side, if you unclip, it's like a little harness that holds them together. If you unclip that, you can actually reach the O2 sensor without having to add this extension, because it was just way too long. I didn't want to have to zip tie a bunch of crap under there or have it hit anything. And here's some of the tools that made this job a lot easier. If you got one of these little Milwaukee power wrenches, these are awesome. We basically got to every 13mm bolt when we were removing the stock gaskets with this thing, and then whatever we couldn't reach with this, we used these little flex head ratcheting wrenches, and need a 13mm and a 10mm, I believe, but all the bolts that went back on the new headers were all 10mm. So when we went back to tighten everything up, this is all we used, was the flex head 10mm wrench and this little bitty 1/4 inch ratchet with a 10mm short socket. And for the O2 sensors, you're gonna need some kind of O2 sensor socket, 7/8, or if you have like a crow's foot, I think is what they're called, one of these things. Yep. Or if you have one of these in 7/8, which I didn't have big enough. These are metric too. It'll work to take them off, or actually just the crescent wrench. We actually had to use the crescent wrench to get the top O2 sensor from the driver's side, and I'll show you all that in a minute. We couldn't get the O2 sensor socket on there. There's just no room. Let's go look at that real quick. So this is driver's side, obviously. Now, let's see if I can get y'all to. Yeah, we can't even see the O2 sensor. You can see it. Okay, so we're under the truck now. Now, if you can see this O2 sensor right here, this one right here on the stock Y pipe, we could not get anything on it. It was just too tight, so we had to use a crescent wrench to get this one out. Obviously the headers are video cut off on me, but obviously the new headers are on right now. Or if you can actually, if you follow the connection, you can, if you're able to unplug it from the top, you can just unplug it, because you have 4 O2 sensors. You have ones that are up higher, and then this is the one that's up higher, actually, sorry. You have this one that's up high, and then you have this other one, if you can see me, this one right here that I've got my hand on. So there's 2 on each side. So if you can reach and unplug those and then take the stock Y pipe out, it'll be easier to take the O2 sensors off once you're out from under the truck. But you've got to have somebody under the truck to tighten all these bottom bolts. I don't know if you can see my hand. And then you have to have somebody outside on the wheel well. You've got to jack up the truck, put some jack stands on, take the wheel off, and then you have access to all of this area. So I had someone under the truck. Whoops. I had someone under the truck holding the new header. He pushed it in through here, and then I was in front of where the tire would be. That way I could grab it, put a nut in it, and line it up, and then we can just go tightening on all the bolts. And we also found that if you loosen like either all the bottom bolts on the stock manifold or all the top bolts on the manifold, the bottom bolts will be loose. So once you take a nut loose, I guess it relieves pressure or something from the gasket pushing on it, and all their bolts were just super loose. Alright, I'll show you guys the new white pipe. This thing will focus. There we go. Ow. You've got 2 bolts there. I believe there are 15 millimeter, and then they go into this 2.5 inch collector, or 2.5 inch pipe right here that has a clamp on it. And those are 15 millimeter as well, and then the same on this side. And you're just gonna have to keep retightening them. Every time I get under here to retighten them, I get at least 3 turns out of them. I guess with the heat and it expands and contracts or whatever. You don't want any exhaust leaks. Alright, we are back on the driver's side. I'm gonna try to zoom in on this bolt right here. Alright, when I had the stock manifolds, I knew that I had a broken exhaust manifold bolt, and it was that one right there. That one that we're zooming in on. But we were super lucky that it was broke halfway through. So we just put a pair of bi-script pliers on it and pulled it out the rest of the way. It was loose too. Like every time in the morning when I turn my truck on, you can hear a little ticking, and after it warms up, it'd go away. So I knew there was a broken manifold bolt. But I was putting that off until I put headers on there. I didn't want to have to redo everything over again. And driver's side was definitely the hardest to do. If you can see the dipstick here. You can see mine's just hanging. You're gonna have to bend it down here where I'm pointing at, because it touches this header, or this I don't know what you call this, collector pipe. I'm not sure, but it touches this one. So you just got to kind of put one hand on top and then grab it from here and then bend it so it doesn't touch, because if it touches, your knock sensors can pick that up, because they're super sensitive. They can pick that up and they'll actually pull timing to protect the engine. It thinks that the engine has a knock, and it'll actually pull power to save the engine. Because when we first installed them, the truck actually felt a little slower, and I reached out to my tuner. The truck's tuned by Jay Green Racing, and that's the first thing he told me. He was like, make sure your oil dipstick tube is not hitting the Yeah, he was like, make sure your oil dipstick tube isn't hitting the headers. Make sure nothing is hitting the headers, because the knock sensors will pick that up. It'll think that the engine's knocking. It'll pull power to save the engine from, I guess, damaging itself or blowing up or whatever. But we fixed that now, and the truck feels a lot better. I'll take you guys to the passenger side. I've got some metal zip ties here that I first used to pull the oil dipstick tube away, but I'm gonna have to cut those eventually. Alright, so passenger side was super easy. You've got 9 bolts on this side. You've got 2 extra, well, you've got an extra one here compared to the driver's side. You've got 9 bolts on this side, and you've got 8 on the driver's side. But this side went in, I don't know, super fast. There's just nothing here in the way. Over there, you're dealing with the oil dipstick tube and the steering shaft. And I still haven't put my wheel well covers in yet. I probably should. I just like how you can see the long tube headers from outside. Looks pretty cool. What else? There was something else. Oh yeah, I'm gonna show y'all my my cutout. Show y'all the cutout. How we had to do the cutout on this one. I've got a friend of mine that's a welder, so that's a plus, and he came out and welded this for me. You can totally use clamps. See, I've got a band clamp back there, but that's because if for whatever reason I need to change out this electric cutout, then I can just take those nuts loose, and take those nuts loose, and then I can take all of this out, replace this Y part, because the actual motor itself is only, there we go, is only bolted on. But it's super loud with this thing open. It's crazy loud. And then further down here, I've got a muffler delete from B2 Fabrications. So from here on over to those two pipes right there, that's where the stock muffler used to be. So I'm basically straight piped. Let's talk a little bit about the stock wide pipe. Alright, so the Doug Thorley kit is made to fit back on your stock exhaust. So the Doug Thorley Y pipe is supposed to go into this piece, but I already had an electric cutout. So I had this already cut, but this had a clamp on it. But I could not get this little piece out. So if you're going with long tubes that are supposed to fit your stock exhaust, I mean, whichever brand you're going with, Doug Thorley, JBA, which are both like pretty much the same price, or American Racing, which are super expensive, you're gonna have to figure out a way to pull this apart. You can see we pulled it, I don't know, not even 1/4 of an inch. We were banging on it, if you can see. This clamp almost has a bead right there. So when they tighten this up, you can see inside that it's pretty much impossible to pull this thing off. Let's take a look at the stock manifolds. I mean, they're tiny compared to the long tubes. They're just super small. And these are supposed to be ceramic coated. whether or not they are. I think they are. They don't change color like the white pipe does. You know how stainless steel will change like bluish with high heat. The manifolds don't. They stay the same color they are now. I mean, the instructions are pretty basic. We honestly didn't even look at them. And also here where it's like tighten bolts to 25 foot-pounds. I've got a torque wrench, but there was no way we could fit it underneath. So I mean, just get them as tight as you can with with this little 1/4 inch ratchet, and you'll be all right. There's no way you can over tighten it with this little bitty thing, or even the 10 millimeter ratcheting wrench, which is what we used to tighten basically the whole driver's side. I know I'm switching back and forth, but let me try to zoom in. Okay, yeah, I can see it. That bolt right there, I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, that bolt right, where is it? Right there, where my finger's at. All right, you see my finger? All right, that one right there. That one was probably the hardest one to get to. So so you see that bolt right there. We had to, the stock gasket has this like little lip of metal that hangs out, I guess like a heat shield. So we just have to bend that up. You see how it moves up? We just have to bend that up. Somebody bent this up, and then the other person was able to get the 10 millimeter flex head ratcheting wrench to tighten it. But yeah, this thing definitely saved us. So I mean, overall it took us about 6 hours, but this was in like complete dark. The headers got here like at 5:30, so the sun's already down, and by the time we got the truck up on jack stands, it took us right at 6 hours. And I'm supposed to have my sling on, but I've got a broken shoulder, a torn rotator cuff, and I broke a top part of my humerus. So really I only have my right hand to help. So it was 2 people, or 2.5, since I only had my right hand. So you can definitely do it with 2 people that aren't super knowledgeable. Just basically put everything back where it goes, because the instructions aren't going to help you that much. I got these headers from Vivid Racing, and I actually got them through A-Firm, which is where you can like do payments or whatever. The only thing I didn't like about Vivid was that they don't do free shipping. They don't do free shipping, and I think it was like $70 to ship them out here. And I told them that they didn't send they forgot to send the header gaskets, and the bolts weren't long enough. And he was like, "Well, I'll just do a discount." But I mean, it kind of cancels itself out. The wife's Durango, Mopar, no car. We weren't planning on getting the same color, actually, but it worked out that way. But yeah, he was like, "I'll give you a discount for Doug Thorley not sending everything you needed and whatever on your next purchase, of course." But here, I'll go ahead and start the truck for you guys. It's not really a cold start, but I haven't turned it on in a couple hours. Got my Diablo Sport Trinity T2. We'll be doing a review on that shortly. I've had that in for maybe more than 3 months, 3-4 months. And actually, before we do that, here's my little remote for the electric cutout. I'll have to do a little install video on how that works too, but basically they just send you this, and you hook up. One wire goes to the cutout, and the other one goes to the car charging port, whatever. You just plug that in, and then you can open it with your little controller wirelessly with the key on. It's only key on, so make sure it's closed. It's super loud with it open. Open the cutout to see if you can notice a difference on it. It's super loud. Takes like 3 seconds for the valve to close. Then I'm gonna try to set y'all up so y'all can hear it. I'll rev it up a couple times. Just do it a couple of times before I piss off my neighbors. Alright, let's go for a drive somewhere where we can get like an in-cab sound, I guess you could call it. This thing keeps trying to focus on the Dodge emblem. I'm trying to get it to focus on the like the RPM thing. So I've actually lost MPGs, and I've been talking to a couple of guys that got long tubes and similar mods on their RAM, and they actually gained MPGs. So it's weird. Same thing, my tuner told me to, check again for leaks or whatever, because if it notices leaks, I believe he said the computer will think that it's running too rich or too lean, and it'll pull timing, or it'll throw more fuel at it, I think is what he said. So that's where my lost MPGs are coming from. But it's a little hard to get under the truck and tighten everything up with my one arm that's broken. Alright, so I'll just cruise a little bit. I still have the eco mode on, so you might be able to hear it kick on and off. It's a little annoying, but not really. I'm used to driving loud cars and trucks. So you can hear the eco mode. See if we can get to this red light. We can do a short little pull. This is going to be with the cutout closed. Even though I turned the traction control off, you can see there, traction control off, still try to stop the tires from spinning. I've got the regular 93 tune in right now too. If I put the race tune in, then there is no traction control. It's 100% off. So you can just sit there, spin the tires. And but if you're just on the regular tune with the traction control off, the computer will still try to stop the tires from spinning. So it'll short shift short shift first. I mean, first to second to get the tires to hook up. Gonna make a loop over here. There's a bridge where I'll get a couple of clips under the bridge. This thing shifts like at 6,000 something, 6,500 maybe. Before it used to shift like at 55 or 5,600. But I've got a Jay's 93 tune, and I've got his transmission tune, which Diablo Sport has a transmission tune, but just from what I've heard and I can't really feel a difference. I feel like Jay's tune has harder shifts and shifts quicker. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely better than. That's a lot of traffic. Just get y'all some sound clips, see what it sounds like. It's not horrible. I mean, you know, wife and the kids will still ride in it without too much complaining. The kids love it. Every time they see a bridge, they're like, "Daddy, do a broom under the bridge." All right, I just opened the cutout. We're about to pull under that bridge right there and make some noise if we can ever get out of here. So everybody's running out to do their last minute Thanksgiving shopping. All right, here we go. Let's make some noise. That's super loud. Let's do one more. Roll the window up so y'all can hear me. So this thing only revs up to 4K, which is good. I wanted to see if I could raise the rev limit up anymore, but Jay was like, no, that's actually bad for these engines to rev any higher than 4,000 RPM. So there you go. If you're trying to raise the rev limiter on a 5.7 Hemi, don't, because he explained it to me, but basically just it's not good for the engine. It's not good. It's not healthy. I guess it's different. Like manual cars, you can shift it all the way to red line. I'm gonna crack the window a little bit so we can do a little takeoff here under the bridge. Let the cars move up a little bit. especially when eco mode kicks in. It's crazy loud. She moves. Looking at getting some GoPros soon, that way I don't have to keep holding my phone. Every time I take off, every time I launch it, just falls out of my hand. Alright, well that was our little ride along, nice and short. But I'll be making a video on the Diablo programmer and the ECU. If you've got a RAM 2015 or 2015 to 2018, I believe, you have to get an unlocked ECM or computer. If you're 14 and under, you can just get this programmer and go ahead and do the tuning. But unfortunately for the newer trucks, you got to get a unlocked ECM. And then the 2019 and up, I think they're still working on doing actual custom tuning. And they've got the Pulsar ECM. But yeah, she's got 102,000 miles, almost 103, and still, you know, give fairly good MPGs. Everything's good on it. And also you can tell this tune is really nice too, because this is super dialed in, because you've got your two knock sensors, and I've never seen them go any more than 0. You want them at 0 basically. I've seen your ST, I believe it's your ST or your LT. One of these has to like, is more crucial to stay at 0. I've only ever seen them like at 1 or something, but that's more than likely a rattle, and that was on a really long pull too, from like 0 to like 100 something. But on the when I was on the Diablo tune, I saw both of these go up all the way to like 4, and one time they went up to 6, and that was on their 91 tune. So I don't know what was up with that. Maybe bad gas, or maybe just the tune wasn't right. But on Jay's tune, they've always stayed at 0, which is what you want. But I'll do another video on that. That's a little long too, show you how to work it. You've got all the different modes and stuff. But yeah, I don't know what's going on back there. They've got my road blocked off. I don't know what happened. I didn't ask him. He didn't seem like he wanted to share anyways. I just told him, I was like, I need to get around you because I need to go home. But that'll conclude this video.